Hello, I'm Nicolette Pompa-Van editor of ESI Africa magazine, coming to you from the African Utility Week studio. Today with me I have Anna Hajduka, who is the CEO and founder of Africa GreenCo. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Anna, you wrote a guest letter for ESI Africa and you were talking about converting climate change and renewable energy to real kilowatt hours for people. Explain, what did you mean about that?
Well, actually, to tell you the truth, I quoted Kandi Yumkela, who gave a keynote speech here a couple of days ago at the opening. It was his statement at the C4O when he was running the C4O committee. And I remember last year at the C4O forum in May in New York, him coming out onto the stage in the impressive manner that he does and saying, really, we are here talking about all these new potential sources of climate finance. How do we convert them to kilowatt hours for real people? So in the article, I thought it was very important to mention what he said, because very often we talk about powering and electrification without taking into account the needs of the end users and consumers. So that was what I was referring to.
And how would this actually happen?
Well, I think from the point of view of channeling new sources of finance, which was what he was referring to in terms of climate finance, COP21 has delivered on some of the promises that we expected. It's yet to deliver when it comes to the real physical disbursements of the committed monies to real projects. So what we are working on as Africa GreenCo is proposing a new solution on how to channel some of those new sources of funding to real projects. And the solution, which is what I was writing about in the article, is looking at pooling of risks across countries on a regional basis and aggregating projects and selling offtake into the power pools through a number of off-takers. So therefore we are coming up with a new vehicle, a new solution through which we truly believe some of these difficulties of creating bankable projects could potentially be overcome.
Here at African Utility Week, you've presented on two different sessions, and I take it that this is a conversation that has been happening during those sessions. What was it that, what was the message that you gave to the audience, and what was the response that you were getting from them?
At those two sessions, we spoke at the sidetrack on transmission and distribution and one on investment and finance. And we were delighted that we were given an opportunity to actually go with an in-depth presentation on the aggregation concept and trading concept that we are proposing and currently working on. We looked into it in detail from the perspective of proposing the setup of a new vehicle, government-owned public-private partnership, a well-capitalized, credit-worthy intermediary for power projects, which will be single counterparty to generators, and then this entity would sell, in its trading role, power to a number of different off-takers. So it's effectively new mechanisms through which we are trying to diversify risks across a portfolio of projects and a portfolio of buyers. We went into quite a lot of detail during the presentations. I'll be delighted to share it with any of your readers and participants. And I think the response was positive. The key response for us is those of the utilities and of the power pools. What we are proposing is integral. Integral for us is to have a conversation with the power pools. We've had very good ones with the Southern African power pool in particular, and we very much hope this conversation will continue going forward.
Right. So regional power integration, it seems to be the buzzword at the moment. And what are the challenges around actually making this happen?
I think, well, there are numerous challenges. I would probably focus on the key, first of all, on the benefits, one benefit or two benefits, and then go into the three kind of main challenges that are perceived. From the benefits point of view, I quoted this morning in my presentation a recent McKinsey report called Brighter Africa, where they calculate and made a financial model which shows the benefits numerically of regional integration power sector development. So I think the savings are in the round of about 40 billion US dollars and about 10 to the power sector consumer from the point of view of increasing ability to decrease the cost of power generated if we're looking at it, developing those projects with a more regional integration through a more regional integration lens, i.e. optimization of resources on a regional basis. Now into the challenges. I think currently we're seeing project development on a national country by country basis and project by project basis. Projects are whilst finance is there, it's very difficult to structure projects which are bankable and very difficult to de-risk the private sector perceived investment, risk assessment in a manner which allows us to scale up the required investment for these projects. Now, when we look at cross-border projects, they come with their own difficulties. First of all, they require multi-off-takers, so the expectation is that the generator would enter into agreements with a number of different off-takers and counterparties. Those multi-off-take agreements are very difficult to structure. Multi-guarantee structures, looking at what type of sovereign guarantees might be needed on multi-off-take projects just adds even more to the complicated nature of any cross-border projects. When it comes to transmission cross-border, they depend on the availability of generation. So it's effectively a chicken and egg question of which comes first. So for new transmission lines to come on board, they also look at anchor off-takers to provide them with generation. Currently, we are finding it very difficult to provide that certainty of generation. So for example, one of the projects is Abona in the Southern African context. We've been talking about developing it for many years, but the complexities of negotiating these multi-wheeling and multi-offtake agreements have been extreme. This is where, as Africa GreenCo, we are proposing one solution. We're not saying it's the solution, nothing is the solution, but at least we're trying to focus on a solution and we're testing it now with the market, whether a pooled risk structure through this PPP type of arrangement might provide that certainty that is required for some of the cross-border projects to come on board.
Well, I haven't mentioned all of these challenges around cross-border and regional integration. There has been mention of an African power pool, which is my last question to you.
Right.
How can this then happen? Is it just a vision? Is it something that can actually, we can look forward to?
It absolutely can happen and it absolutely must happen. I think we can see the increasing development of and strength of the current power pools in the African market. The Southern African power pool being probably the most developed from the transmission and interconnection point of view. East African power pool really proving that through new generation capacity that's coming both from Ethiopia and Kenya, the new transmission and interconnection lines are being developed. And of course the West African power pool is also following in the same trajectory. I think the involvement of power pools and any attempts to try and liquefy that market is the way forward, because without a liquid market, it'll be very difficult to establish more generation and at a better price, and to establish the much needed power trade, which will allow us to optimize the resources that we have, without which, again, it'll be very difficult to achieve the optimal financial benefits, which are there and have been proved to be there through any other regional integration programs all across the world. So I think focus on power pools is key, and hopefully new solutions will come up, and we hope that one of the ones that we are proposing through an aggregation model and pooling of risk model will help liquefy the market and move it to a direction where it should go.
It sounds like a very interesting model that Africa can then expand and grow within the energy space.
We very much hope so.
Thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. I'm Nicolette Pomba-van Zyl, editor of ESI Africa, coming to you from the African Utility Week studio.